The desert had already begun claiming her when she collapsed near the rancher's broken fence line. The silent Apache healer lay half-curled in the dust, her breath faint, her spirit flickering like a candle kept alive only by stubbornness. Blood seeped slowly from her shoulder, darkening the thirsty soil beneath her. The land around her held its silence, an old, impartial silence that did not care whether she lived or died. He spotted her just as the last edge of the sun dipped behind the mesquite trees. At first, he thought she was another ghost from his past, one more shape the desert liked to play with. But when he drew closer, the truth struck him: she was real, wounded, and hunted. He stood there a long moment, jaw tight, every instinct urging him to walk away. Yet the old moral ember within him, long buried under regret, glowed once more. And he could no longer turn his back. He carried her with careful, deliberate strength, as though afraid she might slip from this world if he moved too quickly. The abandoned root cellar waited beneath the barn, cool, dark, unused for years. He laid her upon old wool blankets, their cedar scent rising faintly in the lantern glow. Above them, dusk settled heavy and final, sealing their first shared refuge. She woke in a rush of instinct, eyes sharp and guarded, breath cutting through the cellar's cold air. When she saw him in the doorway, her fingers curled as if reaching for a knife that wasn't there. He made no move toward her, only placed a tin cup of water and a small bowl of beans within her reach. He left without a word, letting silence speak where language could not yet tread. When her strength returned enough for movement, she reached out and traced a small spiral in the cellar dust, slow, deliberate, ancient. It was the mark of a healer, a reminder of who she was beyond fear and blood. He paused beside it, head bowed slightly. In answer, he hummed an old hymn, soft, weathered, letting his history meet hers without a single spoken word. Morning light spilled over the plains, revealing fresh tracks pressed deep into the sand. He knelt, fingers tracing the sharp imprints, too deliberate, too recent. Someone had come searching, someone who would not leave without finding her. He glanced back at the barn, a weight settling in his chest. The fragile safety of the cellar had already begun to tremble. Night draped the desert in velvet shadows, and the lantern flickered like a heartbeat. She spoke at last, her words fractured, broken by grief and fear. With trembling hands, she revealed why she had fled, promised unwillingly to a man bound by a blood oath, a warrior who would brook no refusal. Healing, she said, was freedom, and she had run to preserve it. He listened, then offered his own pain, a wife lost to violence, a life half-vanished since. Their sorrows met softly, embers touching in the dark. By first light, she moved with quiet purpose, gathering herbs from the small satchel at her side. She crushed leaves between her palms, filling the cellar with the faint, fragrant scent of medicine. She tended his worn hands without asking permission, insisting on her place beside him. For the first time, the balance shifted. She was no longer a burden, but a partner in the fragile sanctuary they shared. As the sun sank low, shadows stretched long across the ridge. 3 figures appeared, mounted and still, their eyes fixed on the ranch below like hawks surveying prey. The air seemed to tighten, the desert holding its breath. He felt the weight of inevitability pressing against him. Their presence left no room for retreat. The danger that had haunted their fragile days of peace had finally arrived. He stepped from the barn without a rifle, hands open, steady in the fading light. The 3 riders dismounted slowly, weapons drawn but pointed downward, studying him with suspicion. "I'll go," he said quietly, voice calm but carrying the weight of a man who had nothing left to lose but honor. "Leave her be." No bravado, no challenge, only quiet resolve. He offered himself as trade, a shield against a past he had long carried alone. The desert wind rose, lifting sand like drifting ash, sealing the moment in an almost sacred hush. Before the riders could answer, she stepped from the barn, tall despite weariness, eyes steady and unwavering. Her voice, though soft, carried the authority of her lineage and the quiet power of a healer who had chosen her own path. She stood beside the rancher, not behind him. The riders faltered, uncertain against the unity and resolve displayed before them. Slowly, deliberately, they retreated, their claim dissolved by the bond these two had forged in silence, trust, and shared suffering. Months later, peace had settled over the ranch like a soft dawn. Herbs hung drying along the porch rail, scenting the air with quiet vitality. He tended the land, she tended him, and together they rebuilt what the world had tried to break. Two wounded souls, once adrift, now rooted, healed by patience, choice, and the fragile grace of belonging.